Okay, in today's video, we are going to be looking at writing an equation of a line using the point slope formula, which we have right here. The formula is y minus y sub 1 equals m times the quantity x minus x sub 1. The y sub 1, the m, and the x sub 1 should be numbers that you are given. This x remains an x all the time, and this y will remain a y all the time. So let's look at our first example. This equation would have a slope of 1/2, and it passes through the point -6, 4. So we're going to go ahead and label this as x sub 1, y sub 1, and then I'll just write out here that the slope is 1/2. So I'm going to go through and create my skeleton, and then just substitute in the values that I have for my skeleton. This is y sub 1. Notice that this minus is part of the formula and that y sub 1 goes inside parentheses. Well, it's a 4, so I'm going to put a 4 inside here. M is 1/2, so the 1/2 goes here. And then we have x minus x sub 1. Well, in this case, x sub 1 is -6. From here, I'm going to simplify. Y minus 4, we'll just write down as y minus 4. We have our slope, and then subtracting a negative is the same as adding a positive. So an equation of a line in point slope form is y minus 4 equals 1/2 times x plus 6, where our point is a -6 and a positive 4, and our slope is 1/2. Okay, for B, we have a table of values, and we need to figure out the slope from this table of values. You have a calculator, so you could go ahead and put this into L1 and L2 and get your slope. I don't have one available, so I'm going to go ahead and go through the long process. My change in x here is going to be a +1. Here it is a +2. Here it's a +3. Here it's a +1. On this side, I get a -2, a -4, a -6, and another -2. So -2 over 1 is -2. -4 divided by 2 is -2. -6 divided by 3 is -2. And -2 divided by 1 is -2. So my slope is definitely -2. Now it doesn't matter which one of these points I use. I'm going to go ahead and use the first one. So I'm going to use -5, 4. And what we end up with there then is that our x sub 1 is -5 and our y sub 1 is 4. So I'm going to take y minus y sub 1 equals my slope, and I'll just go ahead and write the slope down, and then x minus x sub 1. So our y sub 1 in this case is a 4, and my x sub 2 is a -5. Then I'm just going to simplify. So y minus 4 stays y minus 4. -2 stays, and then subtracting a negative becomes adding a positive. And there we have our equation of a line in point slope form. We'll go ahead and box that up. Same thing with answer choice A. Okay, in our third example, we are given a point. So we have the point 1, 5. So x sub 1 is 1, y sub 1 is 5. Now we need to find the slope. So all I need to do is find 2 points on the graph. And here I've got this one point here, so I need another point. Now I could use this one, but I don't really know what this value is, so I can't really count it out very well. But here, this y-intercept right here would be very good. That's a nice, easy point to count. And so we just count up 2 and to the right 1. So my slope is 2 over 1, or just 2. So now I put that into the formula. Y minus y sub 1 equals my slope times x minus x sub 1. So my y sub 1 is a 5. My x sub 1 is a 1. I'm just going to simplify this a little bit, get rid of some of those parentheses. So we end up with y minus 5 equals 2 times the quantity x minus 1. Okay. So in our next example, we're given 2 points. So I'm going to have this as x sub 1, y sub 1, my x and y values of the first point, and then x sub 2, y sub 2 for my x and y values for the second point. Now I need the slope, and because I'm given 2 points, I have slope. I just have to either put it into the formula, or I can use stat in the calculator and do L1 for negative 2 and 2 and L2 for the negative 7 and 5. I'm going to go ahead and use the formula here. You can use your calculator if you would like and do stat. So y sub 2 is 5, y sub 1 is negative 7, x sub 2 is 2, x sub 1 is negative 2. So this gives me 12 over 4, which will then reduce to be 3. So I have a slope of 3, and I have my x sub 1 and y sub 1. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my skeleton. Y minus y sub 1 equals, I'll just go ahead and put the slope, x minus x sub 1. Then I just need to fill those things in. So my y sub 1 in this case is a negative 7. My x sub 1 goes right here, and that's a negative 2. So again, we're going to simplify those. So y minus negative 7 is the same as y plus 7. And x minus negative 2 is the same as x plus 2. So here I have my equation in point slope form, where my slope is 3 and my point is negative 2, negative 7. In the word problem, we are given a rate of change, which is our slope, and that rate of change is 2 centimeters per day, so that means my slope is going to equal 2. We are also given a point. The day a tree is planted in the ground, it is 20 centimeters tall. So that's our beginning point, so that's our y-intercept. So I have this point here where 0 is x sub 1 and 20 is going to be my y sub 1. So I do my y minus y sub 1 equals slope times x minus x sub 1. Go ahead and do my substitution. Y sub 1 is 20, x sub 1 is 0. Then simplify. So we have y minus 20 equals 2 times x minus 0. So that looks like the form. We could also write it as y minus 20 equals 2x. But this one more follows the form, even though that x minus 0 could be simplified. Okay, in our final example, we're going to have to graph the line using the point slope formula. So I can tell that my slope is 3 because right here is my m. So remember, this is y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. So the minus is part of the formula, so my y sub 1 is actually going to be a 2. But over here in the for the x sub 1, I have a plus sign there, so that means this is minus a negative. So I end up with a negative 4 as my x value. So once we have slope and we have the once we have slope and the point, we can go ahead and graph the point. So I'm going to come over here to negative 4, positive 2, graph my point, and then I'm going to use my slope. 1, 2, 3 over 1. So I went up 3 over 1 to get another point. I'm going to get several more just to make sure that I have a good accurate line. So up 3 and over 1. Now I'm going to go off the graph if I continue. So I'm going to come down here. If I went up and right, then I could also go down and left and maintain that consistency. Okay, so So I'm going to have to use this little card as a straight edge here. You could use your ID. We connect the dots because it's a line. We are going to make sure we put arrows at either end. So this is the line that goes through the point -4, 2 and has a slope of +3. So here we have 6 different examples for writing an equation of a line in point slope form or graphing from point slope form.